I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Help me! What is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome back to episode number 129 of Park to Prem here with Towel or Town. Today it is the start of season number 15, and well, you've seen the thumbnail and you've seen the intro, so you know it's been a bit of a mad summer. But before we get into all of that, all the transfer dealings ahead of our first ever season in the Champions League, you will notice here that we have new Park to Prem kits. These were made by Tedium over on my Discord server. We've not got 3D versions of them just yet, but it's nice to just get some brand new kits in, and well, yeah, it's just nice to give a fresh lick of paint. Of course, speaking of kits, if you've seen the community post on my YouTube channel, or you follow me on Twitter, or you're on my Discord server, you're probably aware, but we are sponsoring, as WorkTheSpace, Towel or Town and their home kit next year, which is now available for purchase. So if you want to find out more about that, check out the community post on my channel. You can pre-order those kits now. There's been a lot of them pre-ordered from 5 different continents. It's all very, very cool. But yeah, I just want to give a massive thank you to you guys. This was a generous gesture by the folks over at Towel or Town in response to our fundraising efforts with the GoFundMe, which currently sits at over £5,000. And yeah, for next season, Towel or Town's home kit is going to have the WorkTheSpace logo plastered all over it. I mean, how cool is that? That is genuinely probably one of the highlights of my entire YouTube career, if you can call it a career. Anyway, I wanted to get that stuff out the way, but of course it's a new season, and I know a lot of people tune into these very excited to see what we've been doing. And well, if you're on the Discord server, you've had a little bit of a peek in, but for those of you who haven't had that exclusive little peek, here is our ins and our outs, and we'll just sort by fees, and you'll notice immediately I didn't accept the Andre bid. I didn't accept the Andre bid. I had a bid of £157 million. Now, I know there's going to be lots of people say, why the hell would you not sell Andre for £157 million? I think first and foremost, it's just worth acknowledging how ridiculously good Andre is. There are not many players who have 12 or above in pretty much every mental or physical. In fact, when you look at it, he only has bravery of 12 and leadership of 11. Everything else is 13 or above, which is so well-rounded for a centre mid. I didn't need the money either because we'd made so much money selling players on. He's on a 5-year deal. He's on very small kind of contract. If I was to sell him, any kind of replacement I would want to sign as good as Andre is going to ask for a ridiculous sum of money. And it's not just that increase in wages on that one player that's worth considering. It's the knock-on effect as every other first-team player suddenly feels like they are underpaid because one player is paid a ridiculous amount. So I didn't sell him, but we did make a decent amount of money in the transfer window. You can see here an unpopular sale, I fear, is Lazarus, who has gone to Liverpool. He was our vice-captain last year. Now, don't get me wrong, he's put in some pretty good performances, but when you get £40 million for kind of a backup player who may have not even been on the bench this season, it's a little difficult to justify keeping him around. Some crazy, crazy good money there that did allow us to really strengthen the first team. A few other players who are out on loan have also left the club. GCL has left us for a cool £34 million. That's not a bad return, really, considering that we brought in Andy Eric for £22 million last year. Rossano Cini, you may remember this guy, signed him on a free transfer just 2 years ago. He has now gone to newly promoted Birmingham City for £30 million. I mean, good dealings, if I might say so myself. Charlie Brown has left us. I know that some people will be sad to see that, but over £20 million bid on him. He was a bit of a disappointment last year. You can see he had 8 starts, 14 appearances on off the bench. Palazzolo was a little more impressive, and I have signed a new young English striker to perhaps take the torch from Charlie Brown in that degree of representation. Eric has left the club as well, just a player who never really developed during his time here, but we've made some nice money off him. Another player who's left us is actually Andy Hoyle, a player who was a product of our academy. We've been pretty patient with him, but he's had 3 years on loan in League One without really super impressing me. At 21 years old, I've got to be honest, I am absolutely mind blown that we were able to get £11.5 million for him, but I'm not going to complain. That is absolutely insane money, and it's great to see our academy producing these prospects who, whilst they might not break into the first team, we do make a pretty penny off. Anyway, a couple of other youngsters that we signed that haven't quite made it. Akita has gone to Brentford. Well, actually, no, he's gone to Derby. He's now been loaned to Brentford, but £7.5 million to him, I think, is pretty good. And you can see Mahono, one of the few South African players we signed. I feel like I might have sold him a little on the cheap here, but he's just not wowed me. And we've got some very, very good fullbacks who I do think are just that little bit better. He wanted to leave. He didn't want to sign a new deal. He only had 1 year left on his contract. Better to get some money for him than lose him on a free. Anyway, a load of other players have left us, the likes of Ronnie Williamson, Russell Shuttleworth. I decided to set free. We've opened up the cage. We've let him fly out. He actually got a goal on his debut for Huddersfield Town, which it brought a tear to my eye. Obviously a player who's gone through a lot of years with us, but last year he just didn't really play. I have come to the realisation that keeping players in the museum is a tiny bit cruel, so we have left him and let him go. Other players to leave us, I'm sure there's some other names you recognise here. A couple of loanees as well. You can see here, Cancina has gone to Juventus. Now, this guy, I can't get a work permit for him, but he looks absolutely bananas. He's got a 5-year deal at the club. He's on loan at Juventus for this season. I am desperately hoping he will break into the Argentine national team, and then we can get a work permit on appeal, because he's absolutely ridiculous. One of the best 18-year-olds in the world, full stop. A player who will undoubtedly have a spot in the first team come, next season, as soon as, really, if he can get a work permit. One of the players worth mentioning on the loanings out, we've got Nanuel Pizarro. He's gone on loan to Napoli. Of course, infamously signed him with a £60,000 a week wage. He's actually recently signed a new contract, and going on loan to Napoli, they are paying pretty much all of his wages. They're paying £62,000 a week of his wages for me, which is incredibly generous for a player without a work permit. You'll see here Henrik Mwenda. We've loaned to AGF, who are a new affiliate. We have a Danish side who we've stolen a few of their youngsters away from them as of late, including Hendrik Ankson Lange, who will be joining us soon, 17 years old, left back, 8 caps already for the Danish national team. Oh, I mean, I'm excited. I think you guys should be too. But another cool affiliate to get. The affiliation type is one where we may get the odd Danish player appear in our youth intakes, courtesy of them. I am going to call them AGF rather than their full name, because I don't do foreign names very well. Anyway, some other loanings out here, but you know what? If they break into the first team, we'll find out more about them. On the ins, though, £172 million spent. We have broken our record transfer this year. We'll start with our second record transfer. Only £1 million shorter. I have found a left-back, everyone. Nico Roth joins us from Leverkusen. I really like this guy. He's listed as an elite fullback, and he's not the most technically gifted fullback, to be straight with you, but his mentals and his physicals are incredibly good. He's got a little bit of potential to fulfill, and I just really like the look of this guy. He got 10 assists from left back last year in the Bundesliga. Of course, with our system, we look for players to do stuff higher up the pitch. I think he could be the man to do just that. And the other real big first-team addition we have is Steve Norman, a 19-year-old English striker. And he is the club record transfer. We've spent ridiculous money on him, if I'm honest. But I'm sure you guys can relate with this. In every single Football Manager save game, there is a young English player, usually from Watford or Crystal Palace, who gets signed by Man City or Manchester United and haunts you for the next decade as just the world's best striker. I want to believe that Steve Norman and his red headband are going to do just that. Now, he's had a few chances in the Premier League with Crystal Palace. This year, I am bringing him in to replace Charlie Brown, a fan favourite. So there is some pressure on Steve, but you can see here he's incredibly technically gifted and blistering pace as well. At 19 years old, it felt like a little bit of a no-brainer to bring him in. Very excited to see what can become of him. You guys can let me know if you think I've overpaid. I know that I have, before you say, yes, you have overpaid. However, English players have a crazy premium, and something that I have been really desperate to do as of late is add more English players to our team. Now, I have signed a load of youngsters, but the one kind of pick-of-the-bunch player, I suppose, is without a doubt Guy Ford. We've signed him from Nottingham Forest. He is 16 years old. He is an England under-19 international already. I'm pretty excited to see what can become of him. I feel like he's got a bright future ahead of him. We have paid the big bucks. I'm hoping that in 10 years' time, it looks like the biggest bargain. Anyway, few other players that we have brought in besides the youngsters that are probably worth talking about. We've got Hashiguchi, who has joined us to be a second/third choice goalkeeper. Now, unfortunately for us, Dean Henderson has retired. I've used this as an opportunity to get in the Japanese lads you've just seen. And we've also brought back Artem Koval, who is a product of our academy. He's had a few loan spells in the last few years at, well, you can see here, League 1, League 2 and then Championship level. At 22 years old, considering he is homegrown at club, I think he's a pretty suitable third choice goalkeeper. If we get really desperate and start panicking, I think he could do a job at our current level. Of course, with your third choice goalkeeper, the biggest factor really is making sure they're homegrown at club. You think about Premier League teams like Manchester United with Lee Camp, of course, Chelsea had Robert Green in goal for a while. You can kind of see where I'm going with this. Third choice Premier League goalkeepers tend to be just English players to fill a quota, and the added bonus with Koval here is he's a product of our academy, and as a result I've got a bit of a soft spot for him. I feel like he'll do the business for us. So anyway, that's the bulk of the transfer business. We've spent a lot of money and we've made a lot of money, but the reality is that most of these players leaving us at best were backups last year. Of course, Giselle and Gini were out on loan, as was Eric. Charlie Brown and Lazarus, the only real first team players leaving us, and of course direct replacements for Charlie Brown in Steve Norman. Roth obviously fills a massive gap at left back for us. However, we were already quite blessed in the right back position. So anyway, this is our team for this year. This is the class of 2033. We're living in the future now. And this is the team that I'm hoping is going to be good enough to guide us towards Champions League football. Now, to start the season, everyone, we've got newly promoted Fulham. How exciting is that? I know. Monday Night Football, they invited us on. Big things expected from us, I suppose. You can see to start the year, all the results kind of went the way you would expect them to go. So immediately, we're expecting to get a win here. And well, in terms of the team for today's game, it's not really changed a great deal from last season. You can see here, up top we've got Shvetsov, Turnbull and Andy Eric. Worth noting that this year I am ditching the pressing forward in favour of a complete forward. It's a role that I think Turnbull can do very well. And additionally, I think it's a role that Norman and Shvetsov are more than capable of slotting into. I'm hoping that this triangle up top is going to work magic for us. What is a little bit sad, and I discovered this recently, is the fact that Turnbull has Shvetsov as like a favourite personnel. However, if we go to Shvetsov, he just doesn't care about Dylan. I mean, I just feel bad for Dylan in all of this. Also, kind of interesting to note, got two green lines here, and then Turnbull and Andy Eric, they just don't get along. Different senses of humour, I suppose. One of them likes pineapple on pizza, the other doesn't. In the midfield, this is going to be a very big season for Andre, because I have made, obviously, that huge call not to sell him. And I know there's going to be people annoyed and angry that I haven't sold him, but I didn't want to strengthen a rival, and Man City most definitely are a rival. I didn't really need the money. I felt like we strengthened the team enough in key areas. And in fact, if we just look here, I've still got 33 million pounds to spend, an excess wage budget to spend. Our club balance is still really healthy. So I didn't really need to sell him for the financial element, and to sign any kind of replacement would have just caused a big knock-on effect with the wages. He's 22 years old. He's got a 5-year deal. I would be amazed if we don't get a similar offer next season, to be honest. He had a good year last year, but it wasn't the craziest. But he's still coming of age, is Andre. Anyway, alongside him, Matasevic also has a very big season this year, because with the move to Mazzala's, I am staring at this guy going, you look like you should be a good Mazzala. You're 21 years old. You've still got quite a lot of potential as well, which is something that definitely weighs into my decision to play him. Of course, behind them we are going to have Leskinen. Now, it's worth noting, if Matasevic isn't doing the business, we have got Kevin Kaiser, who will almost certainly just slot straight in. The plan here would be that he plays the defensive midfielder role as a deep line playmaker on defend, which is another tactical change we've done this year, which, well, when you look at it here, he's very well suited to serve this role. But he would drop in to this, role that is now on defend, and then Leskinen would go and play alongside Andre, which would be an absolutely formidable centre-mid pairing. In fact, if we just look at the Premier League here and the kind of Media Dream 11, you can see Leskinen is listed as our kind of best player and in the Media Dream 11. Our other key player listed is Andre. So Expectations are high on Andre this year. I feel like his development has gone under the radar. Let's see him having some crazy performances this year. Anyway, the back four is Roth at left back. Big new addition. It's going to take him a little while, I feel like, to get up to speed with playing left back, but I'm confident he is going to be able to do it for us. We then have Auger and Soretta in the centre of the defence. They had a really good year last year. There was part of me that did weigh up the possibility of replacing Auger, but given how well he did last season, I feel like it's worth persisting with him. He's still a youngster, didn't really give me too many reasons to sell him. Soretta has continued his absolutely ludicrous development. He's still only 20 years old. He looks madnessly good. Madnessly good. I was going to say mental, but I use the word mental too much. Madnessly good. Matheus Aurelio, of course, at right back. A bit of a no-brainer here. I feel like this guy has a bit of a point to prove. Last year wasn't his craziest season by any means, but I'm willing to give him, a couple of seasons to find his feet. I'm sure you've experienced it yourself. You sign a player with big expectations. It's not until the second season they really start to perform. Morrigan in goal, of course, for us. I know a few people mentioned, would the goalkeeper position be something I look to improve? In all honesty, I don't really feel a need to. Morrigan is our club captain. He's a very influential player in the dressing room. He was attracting interest from the likes of Real Madrid this season. If he's good enough for Real Madrid, he's almost certainly good enough for me. I really, really like this guy in goal. And you know what? Ignore the average ratings, because they're a load of rubbish for goalkeepers. He's made some really good stops in the last few years. And in fact, you can see defensively, it was his best year in the Premier League in terms of total goals conceded, even if the clean sheets weren't quite there. But anyway, this is the team for the year. As I mentioned, complete forward, a bit of a role change from the pressing forward. We're going to swap out the deep line playmaker on support for a deep line playmaker on defend. Not changing any other instructions right now. Who knows, over the course of the year we may look to adapt things. And let's get our Premier League season kicked off. Of course, Roth, the only new player in the team. Worth noting, Steve Norman, new record transfer, on the bench, waiting and ready and raring to go. I do almost anticipate that over the course of this year he may dislodge Dylan Turnbull for the second striker spot in our team. Would be interested to see how he gets on alongside Shvetsov. And of course it's great to have one of England's next great prospects playing for us. That's not to say that Dylan Turnbull is not one of England's next great prospects, but it's very, very challenging to sign English players. It's a reason why Guy Ford, the lad from Nottingham Forest, I was willing to pay £15 million for him. Because ultimately, give it 3 or 4 years, they're probably asking for 3 or 4 times more than that £15 million that we have paid. It's just kind of the sad reality of the premium put on English players. Now, amongst all those other transfers you saw go in, there are a lot of other English players in there. They're not quite of the same standard. I'm hoping 1 or 2 of them will just break into the squad, probably ending up being more backup players. But I am a little conscious, I guess, about the lack of English players. It's something that I do want to overcome here. Anyway, the game is taking forever to load, so I am going to just skip forward. We'll get into the game. We're taking on Fulham at home. I mean, I hope the players get warmed up eventually. I know it's been a long pre-season, but come on, lads. So we're finally warmed up. That took way longer than it should have. Let's get into this. I have been very excited for this pre-season. A few big name transfers. Not a massive overhaul to the first team in terms of adding in a load of new personnel. I'm really happy with the squad balance going into this season. I felt like there was part of me that did want to sell at Andre. Don't get me wrong, but ultimately, whilst I could have sold him and probably signed 3 or 4 new first team players, it would have caused the wage issues I've already talked about, but it also would have completely wrecked the balance of the team going forward. I feel like looking at our squad at this point now, I can very confidently say that we have the best balance that we've had in recent memory. I feel like we've got really good squad depth everywhere. And left back for me was the last big piece of the puzzle I feel like to, solve. Anyway, Andy Eric bringing it forward. The young Brazilian hits it. I mean, welcome back, everyone. He's back doing his thing. If you thought last year was a fluke, I've heard that urban myth that, attacking midfielders down the middle, they can't do anything in Football Manager this year. I don't know if Andy Eric is the exception to the rule or if the rule is a load of rubbish, but he just likes to score. For a second I thought he was going to thread through Dylan Turnbull, but he's gone on his loan, so he's tucked it away. Matheus Aurelio, 1 assist all of last year. We're 20 minutes into this season and he's already got an assist. You love to see it. Of course, Fulham are newly promoted there. Media prediction, I believe, is towards mid-table, though, so they are a very strong kind of team. And I would like to believe that we're going to get a comfortable result regardless, as we have a superb opportunity there. which is just about hacked away. Let's have another go, Leskinen. He whips in. He doesn't even beat the first man. That's disappointing. Have another go, lad. Come on, Jarno. You can do it. Back with Andre. I feel like every time Andre touches the ball, he's going to be judged. Shvetsov, I think, has been given as offside there. Okay, Leskinen was offside. Thought for a second Andy Eric was going to double his tally for the game, which would have been a little bit of a crazy start to things. We've had a very solid start. They've not had a shot. We've had 14 on target. We've been in complete control of this game. It would be lovely to get a second goal, not too long into this second half, so I can just relax a little bit. Apparently Dylan Turnbull has lost confidence. You know what, Dylan? I think that is a great time to bring in Steve Norman. Let's give him the second half, just to compare him with Dylan Turnbull. A little bit quicker, a little bit more technical, a different type of player in truth. But I do really, really like him. I will, I think, swap him and Shvetsov around. Shvetsov is much better as a complete forward compared to Norman. Worth actually noting, another player who's broken into the first team this year is Saso Markovski. He is going to be our third choice centre-back this year, but I'm a little bit mindful of the fact that if we compare him with Auger, there's a very good argument to suggest he's a little bit better. Now, if only his heading was good and his aerial ability was good, I feel like we have to stick with Jackie Auger just because he's the beast that we know. But make no mistake, Saso Markovski, he's already developed crazy load since he's joined us, but he will play a role, I feel like, in the first team this year. Similarly to I guess, Kaiser or Kieser, the Dutch lad. There's a few players who are on the bench for us right now. I guess Norman falls into this as well, who over the course of this year, I could very, very easily see breaking into the first team. Norman's going all on his own. I mean, that's not a bad first 20 seconds to see from a club record transfer, is it now? Mateus Aurelio to Andy Eric, squares it to Andre, who hits it. Norman looked offside. He's celebrating it. Norman, don't tell him. We'll pretend it was a goal. We can lie to him, right? I don't want to break his little heart. Oh, it would have been poetic, wouldn't it, if Andre had assisted Norman, who's already in the slide tackling animation before the ball goes to him. Good anticipation by the English striker, just a shame that he was half a yard offside there. We've had 58% of possession. We've dominated this game, but it's still only 1-0. And for as long as it stays 1-0, I will be a little bit scared. Markovski's not the best of games, so you know what? Let's make the change. Let's move Leskinen forward and Kev come in and play defensive midfielder. Now, I know he's still learning the role, but match time will help him there. He's so gifted, attribute-wise, to play deep line playmaker. I feel like that almost eclipses his inability to play the position beyond a kind of unconvincing manner. It's 8 minutes left. I feel like this is just destined now to finish 1-0, you know? We can bring in Markovski for Roth. Now, Markovski isn't the best complete wing-back. In fact, he's not even really a left wing-back, but he can do a job there. And he's going to have to do a job there, as we are going to get a win. Should I be pleased with that performance? I feel like it's a dominant display that we never looked like losing, but the fact that we only scored one is maybe a small cause for concern. A convincing win, though, nevertheless. 3 points to start the season, exactly what you want. And a clean sheet to boot. We didn't have enough of those last year, so it'd be nice to get a few more. Good news is, Roth, who got injured, has only got a bruised shin, so we can relax a little there. Norman made his debut. Maybe he'll get his first start before too long. Andy Eric, player of the match. We'll ignore your hairline, Andy, because, I mean, you don't need a good hairline when you're as good as you are at football. Look at him. Look at him as an advanced playmaker on attack. Which I feel like we're still training him there. We are still training him there, right? Yeah, we are. He's so good for us, the Brazilian. He really has been a revelation since he joined us. Great to see him start this season as well as he ended the second half of last season in the League too. But anyway, that's kind of going to wrap things up for us today. In terms of when we'll be back, I think we're going to come back for the Champions League. We've got our first ever game in the competition. We've also got Manchester United away to follow. So who knows, maybe we'll do those as a tasty little double header for you. Worth noting that between then and now, we have got Manchester City at home. Not going to be an easy game, but hopefully we can come out stronger and on top against a team who are undoubtedly going to be one of our big European and title rivals for this season. You can see here, media expectation is 6th. I want Champions League football again this year. It's going to be a wild ride. Hopefully I see you guys tomorrow for our Champions League debut, season number 15. It's going to be a banger. I'm very excited. You should be too. And well, that's all from me. It is me, Jack, and I will talk to you guys in a bit. I'm out.